Leave meeting.
Hello and welcome to the swim brief. I am joined, as I am every week, by two what has been described to me as two very fine gentlemen. One of which being Joel Rawlings. Joel, how are you?
Who the hell described us as that?
Oh no, I'm sorry. That was a different. You know what? You're right. That was a different podcast. Yeah,
Okay.
that wasn't about you. Now that you opened your mouth, I realize.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were talking about the other
Anyone.
guy. Yeah,
Anyone.
anybody else but you, basically.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm not a fan of the Black Keys, Eric. Eric's got a Black Keys shirt on today.
I don't think anybody asked you for your opinion, but
yeah, I don't really appreciate you wearing that shirt on this.
I can't remember the last time anybody described somebody from the south side of Milwaukee as a gentleman, but
right.
I guess I'll take it in this moment.
Yeah, we had some nice conversations off chat about what my experience would be like if I ever traveled to Wisconsin. You guys really made a great sell on the state, you know.
Yep. I wasn't lying about going to Farm and Fleet first, or you could go to Fleet Farm. It depends upon your loyalty.
Are those two different places?
Dude,
what is
my God.
What does the Fleet stand for?
It's like the argument between like In-N-Out and Whataburger in Texas, or anything else that like you might have on the East Coast. Is like, was it Taylor ham roll or whatever the heck you got?
Pork roll and Taylor ham.
Yeah. It's like that argument.
Okay.
But just in the northwest part of the state with lots of plaid and blaze orange and
okay. Well, let's move on to the swimming portion of this, or nominally the swimming portion. We're going to talk about three things today. Mike Litzinger was abruptly let go at Notre Dame just earlier this week. And then we're going to talk about promoting your swim practices on social media. Eric's got some examples that he's been sending to us. And then we're gonna try to capture or recapture the viral magic of an extremely choppy and poor resolution video of David Popovich swimming by showing you 18-year-old South African phenom Matt Sates going 140 in the 200 freestyle. Somebody mentioned to me earlier today that he was committed to the University of Georgia, and I found his old University of Georgia commitment page or his announcement, and he was a 151 short course meters 200 freestyler when he committed as a personal best, and now he goes 140. So he's gotten a little bit better in the interim, obviously, but let's start with the stuff going on at Notre Dame. First, it was announced in the afternoon, I believe, on Monday, that Litzinger would no longer coach at Notre Dame, and actually the associate head coach Aaron Bell was leaving as well. I don't know. There's a lot of missing details on this. So, we're sort of left to guess whether with Bell, whether it was voluntary or not. I think that is somewhat ambiguous. This was on a Monday. This came after Friday. It came through that Notre Dame had settled with April Jensen, who had sued the school for discrimination in the previous spring. So I feel fairly confident in saying that these two things are connected, since the original lawsuit and the reporting on it was pretty scathing to Litzinger. As usual, I'm just going to go to you guys for your sort of initial reactions here, and I'll start with Eric.
Truth be told, I don't know a whole lot about Notre Dame's program, only except when it shows up they've hired a coach, which has been relatively frequent in the last 5-8 years.
Since Tim Welsh retired, it's been a rocky go of it. Yeah,
it's it's frustrating that, and maybe it's just because now with social media that a lot of this stuff is just easier to bring to light, and that it gets clicks. I mean, that's the biggest thing for a place like Swim Swam, or if anybody still reads Swimming World magazine, that this is the stuff that gets people in and then jump into the thread. And then there's always the back and forth about somebody who's never had a bad experience with a coach, but then there's somebody who knows somebody who's on the team who had a bad experience. And it's the constant back and forth that gets the ad money rolling in. And
Right.
I'm still kind of beside myself that, I mean, obviously there's weird stuff that happens all the time. There's just mental health issues everywhere, but I'm still just kind of surprised that a lot of this stuff continues to come to the surface, that there are still people being put in places of power that can't handle it, shouldn't be there. And this can't, if there was something that's going on within somebody's given career, this can't be the first time. Whether it's
Right.
kicking a water bottle at somebody or throwing a clipboard into the stands like happened at Northern Colorado football game, it's like that's not the first time it's happened. So it's like,
Yeah.
what's being allowed or what's not being done to either help these coaches or not have them be in places where they're doing things to ruin athletes' experiences. So
Right. I mean, I was talking about somebody with it, and they said like the biggest problem here is like, it seems as if Litzinger didn't even do the minimum of like engaging with his HR department and saying like, hey, I have an employee, my employee is pregnant and having a child. I'm not satisfied in advance with this employee's performance. What can I and can I not do? Because I think, it's all going to get blended up here that effectively this decision is sort of an indictment that the school has determined, based on the lawsuit and the settlement of the lawsuit, that they can't continue with him as head coach. But I think it's important also to extract a learning moment. There's certainly people out there, they make mistakes, but like, to me, this was an easily avoidable mistake. And from the sounds of it, Mike, who I should, I don't know, for purposes of whatever, disclose, like I've met in passing, chatted swimming with a number of times, guy who is total dyed-in-the-wool swim coach, appears to be just retiring out of this. At least that's what he's indicated through the media so far. And that's a rather dramatic end for what looks like an eminently avoidable situation. Joel, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to this. Obviously, with the women in general in coaching, obviously it seems like they have an endpoint to their careers. Where at some point a lot of them just seem to step away. We just see it just in how many NCAA teams have a combined program with a woman head coach. Like not very many.
No.
Much less a woman head coach in just a women's team, and probably zero if it's just a men's team. And so obviously I think there's something that everyone needs to do to be able to try to keep women in the sport. And also you can see as a head coach,
Wait,
how
Joel, is one of those things to keep women in the sport to not be an ass to them while they're having their first child.
Yeah, well, yeah, that'd be check one thing.
That'd be a good first step.
Is it doesn't coexist with what head coaches in general. Again, I don't know, Mike. I don't know the situation in general. I just know as a head coach, you're like, I got someone that's willing to work 90 hours a week. I'm going to try to get 92 hours out a week. And you're going to get everything you can for that $3 an hour you're paying them, and keep on pushing the envelope, and then get someone else out there that can't, and bring in someone else new. Again, I don't know the situation. That's always kind of like to talk football and basketball, because it's more about what the coach does in relation to a player. It doesn't matter what the sport is, or what a coach does in relation to their assistant coaches. And I think if you took all the names out of it because you get so many fans in here. Whereas again, it's not about the profession; it's about I like this person. This person was nice to me once, and like so
Right.
now you're gonna come stalk Chris and burn his house down in his new
Hey,
house. Sorry about that.
Hey, John Tremblay was really nice to me once.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I think it's good. He was, soliciting child prostitution on the internet.
And
I can hold both those thoughts in my mind at the same time.
And there's the problem. I think unfortunately is like you're a rational individual that's able to have two thoughts. And unfortunately in this world now, it seems like there's very, very few that can do that. But if you take out like the variables of this, take out the names, you've got Notre Dame, which is a multi-million-dollar corporation or brand or whatever you want to put it. And you're basically, the subsection of that brand in swimming. Obviously it's not part of their brand. They don't really care. And so I remember in statistics, we used to take you have that 4-point grid of like, you have a true positive, a false positive, a true negative, false negative. So basically they're going with the idea like, okay, let's say it's a true positive and everything this guy does is wrong. Well, then we have to get rid of him right now. Yeah. And if it's a false positive, or maybe he did nothing wrong at all, it's a multi-million-dollar brand. Just get rid of it. This is what we eat $75,000 in pay. That's okay. We'll make that tomorrow, like selling popcorn at the football game. It's okay. Right. And so I think ADs have now again painted into a corner where the best reaction is to overreaction of just napalm everything, clear the whole place, start fresh. Because again, it's just swimming. B, it's like they don't need more people coming at them. All of a sudden everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're allowing this to continue. It's like, no, we're not allowing anything to continue. We're looking into it. And then everything is so immediate now with the internet that if they don't have a complete and total overreaction, then people are like, you haven't done enough. No one ever comes at someone and go, geez, you kind of overreacted on the swimming coach there. And not saying that happened, but no one has ever said that in the history of overreactions.
Well, swim coaches have, but they're the only people.
Yes. But again, it's like they're not exactly lining up to listen to the swimming coaches.
No.
And so if you have an overreaction to something, that's a good thing, especially with how internet stays forever. These stories stay forever, but how things go changes so quickly. It's pretty vague, but I'm just saying like, what was like, again, I was watching Bad News Bears. And that was the funniest, greatest movie growing up. And now I watch it and I'm like, oh my God, these racist, homophobic, terrible human beings. Right. And again, it's when you have the lens of today, it's like things that happened even 2 days ago just aren't going to hold up. And so it's almost like ADs need to totally overreact, clear the house. It's okay. It's just swimming. We'll hire someone tomorrow. Yeah. It's not a big deal. We're not talking football here.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I think the thing that I'd be really, and I hinted at this earlier, I'd be really curious to find out. And again, I was probably a little bit more friendly back in the day with Aaron Bell. I mean, we're like Facebook friends. So, I mean, we're practically.
You guys sharing a house almost.
Yeah. I'm Facebook friends with his wife too. So like
Facebook has really demolished the word friend. Like,
right.
I really have no idea what friend means anymore. But what you're saying
might not have to worry too much now.
But I guess I'm very curious as to like, because he was not named, he was only, I think an important detail is he was only mentioned in the lawsuit in terms of she was alleging pay discrimination, and she found out how much money he was making, and it was a lot more than she was making. And she's sort of saying like, hey, we're in essentially the same role, and this man making a lot more money than me. But there was no like, there was no allegations of Aaron mistreating her in any way. So I don't know what happened here at the end. That's something I'd be pretty curious.
Right. Whether it's kind of a loyalty thing, or basically it gets to the point where like, listen,
yeah, we got to just,
you're not going to get fired right now.
Right.
But maybe you might get fired. And so then you're thinking, okay, now I've got to tell everyone on my resume, have you been fired from a job in the last 5 years? Yes, I have. Or I resigned. It's good. It's kind of like in Stripes where it's like,
things were crazy and I got out of there.
Convicted? No, never convicted.
All right. Anything else to add on that one before we move on to social media? Eric, you got anything on that? No, you're shaking your head.
No.
Okay, great. I was describing this next topic to someone, and I said, I think Eric Weichen is allergic to people bragging about their swim sets on social media, because it always gets a strong reaction from him. He breaks out in hives. He's actually gotten some treatment for the hives, so you can't see it on the video today, but it really really gets him up. Eric, just give us an example of what's grinding your beans on social media, and then I think we'll get into it.
I think it's just the experiences I had in this was it? I can't even remember the exact name anymore of it. The Swim Coaches Idea Exchange page.
Oh.
Like, I think I just get triggered from.
Hasn't that been
time.
banned for far right QAnon? No,
Probably.
not yet. It's just
yet.
probably just a step away.
They're working on it, right?
That's right.
But I just, there's always that one-upsmanship in like posting workouts about how much this is going to happen, or like, we're doing like 5,000 fly in this practice, and then these guys just chime in, works. Not there's anything wrong with that phrase in particular, but it's when it's in the context that it is, and I think it's just one of those issues where I look at it as, we see coaches post on social media all the time. Dave Salo posts his workouts all the time on Twitter, and there's a lot of idea sharing that's happening. It's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just It's hard when something is posted and there's no context. And maybe I just think too much about it. I put too much into it, but it not dogging this particular coach in any way, but yes, Bobby Guntaro posted a picture of a before and after of doing a set of 2050s on 2 minutes max effort.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
I think it was on 130, Eric.
No, that was a different post from a different club team here.
Oh, that's right. That was another one.
Yeah,
got it.
So that was long. That was 2050s on 130 long course max effort, and I don't know how many of you people have ever done.
Oh, hold on.
450s max effort on 2 minutes.
Now we're going you people. Whenever we're calling referring them as you
basically
people?
referring to the two. Basically referring to the two of you guys.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody's ever done even 4 or 550s max effort on two. Certainly, that seems like a quantifiable amount of that max effort. When I see 2050s on two at max effort, my brain immediately goes to somebody's going to get injured, or there's the possibility of something not going right here. And it's not to say that there's just indiscretion when posting this stuff on social media. It's one of those things where it's like, it's a college coach that he's been there for a bit. It's not like he just showed up this season, and I guess that maybe I should just assume that people understand that there's probably been a progression to this 2050s on two max. Or maybe it's just the mentality that these have to be max, or it's like, it just, when I look at
it's
something
probably
like
just
that,
2050's best average on 2 minutes. If we're really
if that's the case, that's the case. But when you put max effort, I'm expecting max effort. I'm expecting to see people falling apart probably after 5, 6, 7 of them, and then having to do 14 more of those. And it just sometimes maybe it's good that I'm not a parent, because I would probably shelter my child too much. But I just look at it as like, the kids shouldn't be doing this. Like, there are kids, there are coaches who are going to look at that and be like, my kid should do that. And then somebody ends up getting messed up because number 18, they jack themselves up on something.
Okay, so I guess there's a couple separate issues here. One I'm hearing is that you just don't think the set as if people are honestly doing the set as written, you just don't think it's a good set. Like, if
there's part of it.
I'm not challenging you. Like, I agree.
Yeah.
If somebody gives a true maximum effort, as they would racing a 50-yard freestyle on the first one, they should not be able to repeat the effort like 90 seconds later. Then there's like I don't have a physiology degree or something, just a swim coach, but like, in my experience, if somebody actually is halfway decent at the 50 free and gives 100% effort, like, they will not be able to repeat it even on number 2. So there's that angle of it. I do think, love it or hate it, and maybe on this podcast we're going to come out as hating it. There is immense value to posting stuff like this, in terms of just the attention that it gets and the recruiting,
Absolutely,
and all that part of it. Like, and so I just want to insert in here, before somebody plays this for Bobby Gantoro, and we just add another coach to our list of people that don't leak my list.
That's the you people moment.
Hey,
Me,
you people,
everyone else haters.
listen, Joel, still the opportunity for you to apologize to me, okay?
Yeah.
For your actions on that podcast.
I have by saying I'm sorry I'm on this podcast daily.
I'm sorry. I'm on with Chris. But back to the point. I mean, Bobby has come out of this. What I think one of the defining things of NC State coaching tree. You put Todd DeSorbo in there as well. Like, these guys are really, really good at getting stuff on social media that gets a lot of attention and helps them, I think, immensely in recruiting. And this is definitely a part of that. Joel, insert your valuable wisdom to this conversation.
Yeah, I think when you threw this idea out there, I thought it was basically the ABC, all about recruiting angle, where it's like that's all this is. Where, like, if you're a club team, you don't have all that time in the pool all the time where you're like, I've got to kind of get stuff done. We don't have this much time, especially for the photo opportunity of a bunch of dudes laying around on the end of the deck.
Right.
But yeah, that's the thing I think a lot of times you have to separate out is everyone's kind of like taking like pieces from different puzzles and trying to make their own puzzle with it. Like, well, this is the set they did over here, and this is the Janet Evans set of thousands of IMs, and this is the set from whatever you want, and they always try to fit them all together, and that's the troublesome part is always, as a coach, is having to answer the questions like, how come we're not doing that? Why aren't we doing more like rope climbing, diving into a pool, chugging Gatorades thing? And it's one of those where, like, if we had a good recruit coming to campus, that was definitely the day we're working on starts and reaction times, and we got all the plates spinning in different directions, and like, look at how fun this place is. And so that's the thing is people always have to separate out is the marketing angle, and as you say, is great at it. I mean, they were at the forefront of like, let's just get some of these videos out there and show our kids doing this. I think the other part, if you're talking about the physiological aspect of it, it's going back to my high school days. My high school coach was also the ancient civilizations teacher, and so he said only one man ever gave 100%, and that was the runner at marathon in Greece, and he died at the end. So that's 100%. And so the same thing here. If it's 2050, it's kind of like what you said. If it's a max effort, then one would have been sufficient. Then they're already But I think it is. It's one of those where, I get it if it's a psychological thing. I get it if it's like, we did this, and then what we're gonna do 20 on 129 now to beat that team that did 20 on 130, whatever it might be. At a certain point, though, there's only so many energy reserves within. Again, these are basically the pros of our sport. I'm sure they're capable of doing some amazing things that we have no idea what it is. But again, most programs, again, there's only a certain amount of glucose in the body. There's only so much fat reserves in the body, and there's only so much the muscles can take in the body. So again, it's one of those where it's awesome if you know exactly what you're doing. If you're just kind of throwing crap at the wall and seeing what sticks. Not saying that they're doing that. I mean, they're doing a great job with their sprinters. But where did these sprinters come from? Are they coming from distance programs? Are they dumbed down milers and also now they're sprinting? Or again, I don't know the background on the kids enough to even comment about, if it's right or wrong for them, Yeah. If they win NCAAs, then it's right. There you go. We're a results driven sport.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I'm hearing here is that you guys are a couple of weenies that just aren't tough enough to hack it in elite swimming. It's sort of the theme of what's coming across here.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
No, I mean, I do think, like, it's kind of obvious to me, but I think not obvious to a lot of people who might be consuming this content, that in actuality, what's probably happening, like I said, is that they're getting in and doing 2050s best average on 2 minutes and giving a really good effort on that. And that's a totally worthwhile set. I mean, the thing is,
Yeah,
we
I'm not arguing that.
no, we
Yeah.
we have a saying in here, in this office, that there's no such thing as a bad set. So anything can, you can judge it bad or good on paper. It's really about how you might execute that set. 1225s can be an awesome set. I'm willing to consider that 100 hundreds could be a good set in certain contexts, conducted in, if you have a good way of conducting it, and there's like a lot of sort of thought and consideration to who's doing it and what are they, trying to get out of it, and this, that, and the other thing. That said, about 100 hundreds, the best worst example of this I saw during my time in Denmark was that one idiot club swim team over there posted on social media, them having all their age groupers do 100 hundreds butterfly on like, I don't know, 140 or something. And then another club to one up them had the same group of kids do 101 hundreds butterfly. And instead of just like a still image, there was video of it, of kids just like drowning basically in the pool trying to complete the set. And that to me, I can't really rationalize that one.
I always hear people ripping on that set, but I'm like, if at the end of the year, like 10 years from now, the alumni have something to come back and say, oh, we all did that, and that's a bonding moment for them, I don't think it's going to help them win anything. But I think, you got a chance at, benefiting the Pizza Hut buffet crowd. They're gonna
Right.
max that out. They're gonna come back 10 years later, maybe give some money to your school, your program, and
you're actually just
reminisce
creating
about
jobs, because
Exactly.
they go out and spend money on food right afterwards.
Yeah,
I would watch.
If it's a training thing we're talking about, there's probably different things to do. Yeah.
Right.
Again, that's the weird thing is, again, the body can only hold so much glycogen. There's only so much ATP, and it's got to get replenished. Eventually,
I would probably try to watch Bobby Finke do 100 hundreds. Absolutely,
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
that'd be like, it's worthwhile. And for the record, Coach Gentoro, nothing but love. I think you're a good coach. I think you're an even better person.
So instead of
just-
ABC always be
just-
recruiting, it's CBS always be selling.
Yeah, it triggered the thought and the
How's
impetus
that
for the
feel?
topic. It's not a reflection.
Oh, come on. Don't be such
Not
a
a
weenie.
reflection of what we think of who you are, Coach
Yeah,
Bobby.
need a new bag
You
of
know-
pull boys. I can hook you up.
You know who I blame actually for all of this is my friend Garrett McCaffrey and my new friend Brett Hawk, who called me after our podcast last week. And that old throw up set that he put on Flow Swimming back in the day. That's the OG excessively hard set posted on social media, I guess. Back when it was a quaint thing where you loaded a website every day to find out what was going on. I just felt so incredibly old saying that. Okay. We are finishing with, as I said, our attempt to recapture the magic of the David Popovich video. Again, if we're allergic to our previous topic, we're attracted like moths to the flame to really fast swims by exceptionally young people. So we're gonna give this a try. We've made some adjustments, producer Eric in particular, to maximize the video presentation here, since we've heard and know that it was pretty awful, if I'm being honest, in previous renditions. So we're gonna give it a try doing it better. We're gonna watch the guy swim. Joel and Eric are gonna be just really effusive about how great he is, and I'm gonna get on there and trash him, because that's sort of the role that I play here.
Because you're just upset and angry East Coast kind of dude.
Right. Yeah.
Tom Brady's not coming back. It's just going to be cold soon. Your team sucks.
I know. I had to watch that Sunday night. I only watched the first half of that Sunday night game.
Hey, Sox win. Sox win.
But this is a point where I realize, am I meant to have made Eric co-host by this point? Is going to get some podcast gold while we
Or he gets the NIL fee.
He's gonna double my pay, Joel.
Sweet.
Okay, I've enabled that multiple
Just edit this
participants
out.
can
You'll be
share
fine.
simultaneously. Let's see if Eric can share, and in the meantime, I'll just talk over it. Again, as I said earlier, this kid's been on a really, really rapid progression. 140 is he's within striking distance of Paul Biederman's 139 suited 200 freestyle from back in the day. Now we get to see Eric's photos. Oh, so he's downloaded the video here.
Yep.
Okay, looks like, nope, looks choppy as heck on my end.
Yeah. I mean, with the things you can see though, I mean, just look at like the distance. I mean, each undulation, how much water he covers, how much ground he's covering there with just a single undulation.
Yeah.
He's just holding so much water to be able to do that. It's just unbelievable, especially off the start. And I know right away when you see these grainy videos, everyone like, you see the galloping stroke, and there might be something to it, but it's one of those, I think that if it's in there, it's fine. I think when people start to like retro kind of develop it, or you see what a Ferrari looks like, and you try to retro design a Ferrari based on what it looks like, I think that's when you end up with the Fiat or the ANC Pacer of the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make a good point there, Joel, in that, like, when you say earlier that you only have so much glycogen, and you can only have so much balance in your body. Like, I don't know about your body, but my body's got plenty of imbalances. Stuff's not exactly even from one side to the other. I mean, I wish I was more symmetrical, because I hear that that's what makes you attractive in life, but it's just not a fact that I'm perfectly symmetrical. So why would we expect somebody to swim perfectly symmetrically?
Yeah. Yeah. And looking at this, I mean, that's, I don't know how to phrase it, but you see like kids that play soccer now that have been playing since they're 6, how refined their skill set is at like 11 and 12. And the same thing here, this guy's swimming, again, look who he's racing against. I mean, he's swimming like a 28-year-old. I mean, it's a really tactically really sound race. Stroke is, very powerful. It gets great kickoff. I mean, if you're going to start picking on stuff, the turns, setting up in the turns, he gets a little bit high. That breath right there on the breakout's a little bit high.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a big boy swim. And again, he's 18. And so you always kind of wonder, where are they going to go from here? And that'll be interesting too, with all these great young swimmers that we're seeing now, like at trials like Troy Husk and things on the women's side, but on the men's side, which is a little more rare, seeing 16, 17, 18-year-olds with these big swims, how they continue to develop, what they're going to be doing down the line. I mean, again, all those swimmers are just covering so much ground with their strokes. Just amazing to watch what these athletes can do now. And it's kind of fun if you download pictures from like the 92 or 96 Olympics or even 2000 Olympics and seeing what these athletes are like now at 18.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Eric, I know you were on video playing duty there in the background.
Sorry, that was so terrible.
No, you know what? I think it was better than our previous. I think we're improved. I would say it was good, but
so the take-home message here is always set the bar extremely low.
Yes.
And in worst case, you trip over it, you're still going over.
As soon as Chris increases my editing budget from $0 to anything above that, hopefully we'll be able to edit some of this video and you get a better idea of what it looks like. The only thing that I saw, if I was picking nits at this point, obviously he's got some development in and around the walls strength. I only worried a little bit about his right arm. It just looked like he was kind of trying to shove his arm through a hole. But his rotation was such that it wasn't really impinging the shoulder. That was the only thing I saw. It looked like that right arm recovered, but looked a little uncomfortable. But when you're his age, competing at that stage and going 140 in short course speed or 200 freestyle and doing everything else really, really well, I think it's something that tweaking that to avoid any shoulder problems is not a major change. It's not like there's anything wholesale that he has to really get rid of. Just some tweaks here or there. But
I mean, I in our chat, I picked on the turns as well. And the only reason I really bring that up is because I actually think it makes the swim more impressive. Like he's got some serious room for improvement in just the way that he, as you say, Joel, the way he initiates a turn and things get just a little bit loose and a little bit disjointed there. So to be going that fast in short course meters and have that much room for improvement on your turns is very, very impressive. I don't know that it necessarily means like that. I think he would put together a world-class long course swim right now, because you can't really, you still even, you know, it's oversimplified in my mind to just boil it down to like, are your turns good? Therefore, you know, are you good at short course or long course? Like there's a lot more to it there. So I'd be curious, of course, to see how this translates to long course performance, because certainly, as I said, he's very close. And, you know, it's an event where if we look back at the Olympics, like it seems like we're just about due for a shakeup in the 200 free, where I'm not taking anything away from Tom Dean and et al. But, you know, we're waiting for the little bit of a generational leap in that event. And it seems like it's coming with Popovich and Sates as well. It could be well on its way.
Yeah, it's the conversation of like, we need a 200 specialist to really see the difference and the change, you know.
Yeah.
That's been something that's been floated around for a while. But it's hard when you have a multi-generation athlete like Michael Phelps, who has the walls, short course, long course, just didn't do a whole lot short course, but then has an incredible 200 free, who also is the greatest IMer of all time. So it's just like, there aren't that many. There's only
And
one of those.
He comes right on the heels of Thorpe, and
yeah,
you just have Biederman, you know, in the middle of there, just you know, whether you want to say suit or whatever, I don't care. There was just a period where Biederman swam crazy fast in the middle of all of that.
Yannick Agno was the last true specialist, right?
I mean, yeah, that was sort of like the one that got away, and even Van Hogenbond there on the front end with Thorpe was a great foil on the other end. I mean, I was thinking about we don't want to get into another podcast where we remember some guys, but I was thinking about this. We're recording this on the day that Laszlo Chet is swimming his final race and retiring, and for once, I actually saw a legitimately good conversation happening in the comment section, which was all about, is Laszlo the best swimmer? Now I'm just segueing into a bonus topic, by the way, that I didn't prepare you guys for at all. But is he the best swimmer who's never won an Olympic gold medal? Because if you look at his body of work, like the guy was just in the wrong era. You know, like he should have been, if he was peaking in the 400 IM in Tokyo, you could make the argument that he would have won.
For sure.
Definitely.
I don't
sorry to sneak attack you guys. You're trying to think of somebody better. Yeah.
But even to have that conversation around like Robert Margalis, Eric Namesnick, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of, just off the top of my head, Americans who might fit that.
Right.
Even be in the conversation of an also ran, not even better than him. Right. It's just, you got to look at guys who just came along at the quote unquote wrong time. I mean, some of those guys really just came around when we had crushing IMers in flyers. And it's like, you know, Lochte obviously ended up winning some of his golds, but he did it in an era where specialization was becoming even more prolific in some of these events that he was racing in. And then on top of that, you're racing during Michael Phelps's era. So the fact that Lochte was able to break through in some events really makes it special when you look at somebody like Laszlo Chet, who was really good. He just
Plus he meets a criteria that's very important to me, which is he's one of the last shaved head guys. Right? We don't have a lot of those guys left. You know what I mean? And
Brent Hayden is in the ISL right now. It's great.
Yeah. But there's, I don't know. We may see the shaved head go completely extinct here, relatively soon, and that's
they'll still.
I think looking forward to be interesting how training adapts with so many like people kind of specializing in one area, because that's the thing is to making that team is like if it's just one event or 8 events, who cares? You're an Olympian. It's kind of also you see that with the recruitment of athletes in this country with colleges going so far much farther back to try to recruit. They're like on the men's, we talked about again how much this guy is improved, how basically you're taking a flyer on a boy. You're just hoping this boy at 16 matures into something else at 18, and so they're willing to put all their cards into on one kid being on one event. If you just see something in one event, whatever that one event is that they might value at that program, whether it's like a 200 because now you can go 150 or 200, 500, maybe end up being a miler. You start betting on kids like that, and so I wonder if clubs start to go, you know what, let's just make you fast in the 100. Everyone needs 100 freestylers. And then it becomes one of those things where you start specializing. You always hear about specializing in one sport. Now I'm thinking about specializing within the specialization of one sport, where it starts to even narrow it down. And everything we've always read, of course, is, IM-based training when they're young, bigger volume when they're young. But when everything's changed and all of a sudden you start to hold the carrot of, might get a scholarship, maybe all of a sudden it's like, well, let's start kind of maximizing something now, especially like 100 or 200 in hopes. Not that that's this case here. I'm just saying in general with the future of the sport. I hope that again people don't start to narrow kids down early in hopes of popping one good swim early.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that because I still think it's kind of a losing strategy from just having finally gotten inside a USA swimming club. I think actually heavy specialization on events is still, despite those other pressures, I still think it's kind of a losing strategy.
So in the sport of losing strategies, where people run off assistant coaches that are pregnant, you think that somehow they'll come to their senses. Full circle.
Yeah.
Right.
Common sense. Exactly, Joel. Common sense will dictate that nobody will do that very stupid thing that you just mentioned.
Right.
Obviously.
There may be some later
Rational
specialization.
individuals out there.
Yeah.
Yes, we're good.
I do think we'll never see anybody win 8 gold medals at an Olympics, and that barring some cataclysmic regression of swimming, like in terms of just the overall investment, then that's the only way I could see it being like that again. And obviously, Joel, you won't live to see this day, but those of us who are a bit younger, will eventually run into young people that are kind of like, I guess Michael Phelps was good, but that was like an era when you didn't have as much specialization and
You went cataclysmic regression right away. I thought cataclysmic as in water's now too expensive just to swim around in, so only 4 people in the world can do that.
Right. Yeah.
So it becomes like the Winter Olympics, where basically how many luge runs are there in the world? It's like, gee, it's amazing that all the people on the luge team grew up in Salt Lake City. That's crazy.
Yeah. We'll go back to what the Olympics was at the beginning, which is, are you rich enough to play sports?
Yeah, exactly.
As an adult.
We're getting there fast. Welcome to the cataclysmic event.
All right. Anything else to add, Eric? I
have faith in American coaches that they would never specialize too early because of what we've done in the IM in this country. It's just decades and decades of IM greatness that they want some of the coaches want their opportunity to be able to coach somebody who can do that, right? They want that. They want that up there. But to your point, there won't be another Phelps just because of how much specialization there happens at a certain point where it's like, it's so hard to make the Olympics and then it's so hard to final that you have to put everything into a couple of events at the most, or maybe even one. So maybe the IM situation is different in other countries than it is here, but there's been so much of a history on both sides, both men and women, that it won't happen here anytime soon. So unless water gets to be too expensive, of course. So
that's an oddly realistic scenario that Joel presented there. I'm now going to be I'm going to be unsettled the rest of the day thinking about that.
Yeah.
So that's
Even more unsettling. I think we're not going to have 8 medals because we see the pressure going on right now with the athletes on
Right.
social media. We already are eating our young, so they're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
they're going to implode there anyway. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's the
Have a
kind of
good day with
cynicism
that.
you tune in for every week.
Yes.
Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for putting up with the quality of that Matt Sates content. We hope you enjoy talking about his swim anyway. And I'll see you guys all next week.
Thanks, Chris.